Good evening. Welcome to the May 5th, 2022 Sustainability Commission meeting. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, AT&T Uverse, Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live on high definition on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called Screenweave and using Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any questions about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the Management Services Department at 818-548-4844 during regular business hours. And with that, let's go ahead and start with our agenda.
Item 1, roll call. Commissioner Cartoonian. Commissioner Kajian.
Here.
Commissioner Pinkerton. Vice Chair Werner.
Here.
Chair Bartrosuf.
Here.
Ex officio Gong.
Here.
Ex officio Prado. Okay.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next item.
Yes. Item 1A, Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Yes, we have our ex officio member, Prado, here. Welcome.
Thank you. I apologize for being late.
No worries. Welcome. All right, let's move on to the next item.
Agenda item 1B, the agenda for May 5th, 2022 meeting of the Sustainability Commission was posted on April 29, 2022 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Okay, item number 2, approval of minutes. Item 2A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held April 7th, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Great. Thank you.
Roll call. Chair Bartrosuf.
Yes.
Commissioner Cartoonian. Commissioner Kanjian.
Approved.
Commissioner Pinkerton. And Commissioner Werner.
Approved.
Okay. On to agenda item 3, election of chairperson and vice chairperson.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair Bartrosuf and Sustainability Commissioners. So it's that time of year where, as per the resolution of the Commission, we have to select a chair and a vice chair. I do apologize, we're a month late in doing this. It should have been done after the March meeting. So the period will be from the election of the chair and vice chair today through March 2023 will be the term that the new chair and vice chair will serve. So if any commissioners would like to put themselves forward and nominate another commissioner for the position of vice chair, you may do that now. We may vote on it now too. I've contacted Hague, Commissioner Cartoonian and Commissioner Pinkerton, and asked them if they were intending on standing for the chair or vice chair position. I have not heard back either way, so just to provide that information.
And to be clear, we're doing chair first, then vice chair separately after, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Well, as the outgoing vice chair, I'm willing to step into the chair role if no one has any objections.
No objection.
Is there a nomination?
So, yeah, so there would have to be an official nomination.
I will nominate Rondi Werner as chair.
Great, and I'll second it. Any
Nominations don't need to be seconded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Any other nominations?
You can take a vote.
Hearing none, so we'll take a vote on that nomination.
Okay, agenda item 3A, election of chairperson.
So roll call.
Roll call. Former Chair Bartrosu.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Cartoonian. Commissioner Kanjian.
Yes.
Commissioner Pinkerton. Vice Chair Werner.
Yes.
You can pass the gavel.
Oh,
And
great.
now the new chair will undertake the process for selecting the vice chair.
Great.
You can stay where you are.
Multiple chairs?
I'll slide this over to you.
Hold it up.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I hope I can be as worthy as you were when you served. Thank
So
you.
next item is the election of a vice chairperson for the Sustainability Commission. Do we have any nominations?
Yeah, so one thing that complicates this a little bit is that there's an election next month, and if the person who appointed 3 of the people on the commission, if they're not reelected, then there's a chance that that person might not be able to remain on, for that full term, because the incoming council member can choose someone, or they can keep the same person in place or choose their own candidate. So, and the 2 that I know are continuing on are myself as Artie Kasakian's chair or appointee, and also Jennifer Pinkerton, who was appointed by Paula Devine. So I'm just mentioning that. That doesn't mean anyone else can't serve, but I'm just throwing it out there as a complication. Is there some mechanism we could realign the handing over so we don't have this kind of situation? Because I think that does make it a little bit uncertain when we're doing this. I mean, not for this year, but maybe something we'd look at as a change.
I apologize, my microphone was not turned on. There is definitely a mechanism in the event that one of the chair people, a vice chair or chair, is not reappointed by their council person, then we can go through the process again to nominate and select a new vice chair and chair to fill the remainder of the role. So it wouldn't be an entire term, but it would fulfill the remainder of the term of the chair, vice chair.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Jones, you mentioned that you didn't hear back from Commissioners Pinkerton and Cartoonian.
That is correct.
So,
Oh,
so
Make a nomination.
do we have a nominee? We can nominate someone that we don't know is interested in it, or Commissioner Kanjian seems willing.
I'm happy to take it on.
Okay. So I would like to nominate Commissioner Kanjian as vice chair.
I was just going to say, the comment you bring up is worthy to make note. I don't think that it should preclude us from considering folks. I think, as was advised, there are mechanisms in place, and I think there are always conditions where somebody may move or somebody may not be able to serve on the commission anymore. And for one reason or another, they may not be able to fulfill their whole term. Irrespective of that, I would like to nominate Jennifer to be vice chair. I did speak with her privately, and she did express an interest, and I wanted to disclose that publicly and not break any rules. So I that is on the table, and I would turn that into an official nomination for our consideration as well, to complicate things. But I apologize, but that's there.
Well, no, thank you for, I had her in mind myself, but, it's just I didn't know if she was interested or not.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything outside of our public meeting, so I wanted to disclose that in a public setting.
All right, so it looks like we've got 2 nominations on the floor. And
You can take the first one and vote on the first nomination. And if that succeeds, then you have a vice chair.
okay, so let's have a roll call for,
I'll withdraw my name since Jennifer is willing to, but the fact that she hasn't been at the last 2 meetings complicates things a little bit as well.
yes, your point is well taken, so, but given that we now know that she does have an interest in it, so I think she would at least accept the nomination were she here, so let's go forward then and take a vote on Commissioner Pinkerton as vice chair.
Okay, roll call for agenda item 3, election of vice chairperson. Commissioner Bartrosov,
Yes.
Commissioner Kartunian, Commissioner Kanjian,
I'm going to abstain.
okay, Commissioner Pinkerton, and Chair Werner.
Yes.
The nomination fails, it needs a majority vote. So what you could do is wait until your next meeting. Hopefully, we'll have all the commissioners here, and we'll undertake the nomination process again for selection of the vice chair.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 4, board member and staff comments.
Okay, Mr. Jones, would you like to start us off?
Commissioner Werner, thank you, yes. So I do have a couple of staff comments. So first of all, I must apologize to the commissioners regarding the scheduling and rescheduling of the life cycle analysis and report to come to the commission. No, just we've been working with the consultants, and it's we finally got the first report, so we've reviewed that. We've made some comments, and the consultants are reviewing those comments right now. That being said, we would like to bring that report to the June 2nd Sustainability Commission meeting. We would like to also state that be a joint commission with the Parks Commission. Also at that June 2nd meeting, planning would like to bring the Verdugo wash to both commissions and update what's happening with that project. So the tentative agenda would be to have the Verdugo wash presentation first, and then the presentation by the consultant, sustainability staff and community service and parks staff on the life cycle analysis. So if the commissioners have any comments, questions regarding that, I'll note those now.
And this was the life cycle analysis of artificial turf.
Correct,
right?
Commissioner Werner, yes, Chairperson Werner. Also, we'd just like to update the commission that finally we've executed the contract for the building electrification study. So we're having a kickoff meeting with the consultant next week, so we're looking forward to get that project underway. And regarding City Council meetings through June 14th, there are no items related strictly to sustainability on the future agenda at this time. So those are the comments from staff. Elizabeth, if you have any comments?
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any comments?
I just have some follow-up questions, if I could.
Oh,
David, so the joint meeting, we had just talked about the election of the vice chair to move on to the next meeting, which I guess would have been in June. So would we have an agenda separate from what would be the joint meeting? How would that play out if the Sustainability Commission has items in addition to what would be considered under the joint meeting agenda?
So I think we would have the one item to elect the vice chair of the Sustainability Commission, which would be just voted on obviously by the Sustainability Commissioners, and then we move into the joint session for the other two items.
Okay. And it would be the same as what we did last time, which was have separate votes for those items during the joint meeting.
That is correct.
Okay. And I'm just curious, would we be going first? Would the Parks Commission be voting first?
The Sustainability Commission would go first because it lands on the day of the Sustainability Commission meeting.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Would either of the student ex officio members like to say anything? Nope.
Sorry, one more item for update regarding the recruitment for the next officios. So I'd like Elizabeth to say where we are in that process, please.
So for the recruitment for the next ex officio student commissioners, we have shared the information in the sustainability newsletter. It's been shared on our social media. It's been shared in the City Connection newsletter and on my Glendale channels. And we've reached out to GCC or Glendale Community College, some contacts there to share amongst them. As of this moment, we haven't received any applications, but the due date is June 17th, so there's still time. If any of the commissioners need help reaching out to your designated high school, please let us know.
I did have two quick announcements to make. One is about an event that I attended recently. So on May 1st, the City of Glendale hosted a bicycle audit for the North Brand demonstration project that they're undergoing. It's a proposal to redesign the street and do a quick build pop-up event or demonstration, I should say, to make the street safer. So this is on North Brand between Glen Oaks and Mountain. I attended the bike audit. It went really well. It was well received. I also happened to be on the advisory committee for that project. And I just wanted to let the audience know that that's a worthwhile project that the city is pursuing that we can look forward to, that promotes walking and biking in the city and can connect to additional bicycle infrastructure and allow people to get to destinations on North Brand other than having to drive. The other one that I wanted to plug an event that's coming up on May 14th. This is a bicycle ride with Mayor Kasakian in partnership with Walk Bike Glendale, which is a local nonprofit organization. It's going to be a short ride. We'll be meeting at the Riverwalk. I plan to be in attendance and want to let the public know about that. If you'd like to learn more about the event, you can find it on Facebook, or you can reach out to city staff and they'll be able to share more information with you. But that's another way to come outside, meet your mayor, and meet your neighbors on a local bike ride that encourages more walking and biking in the city. So I wanted to share those two things. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no other comments, we can move on to the next agenda item.
Next agenda item is 5, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items within the jurisdiction of the Sustainability Commission. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Sustainability Commission members may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff for investigation and report. At this moment, there are no callers.
Okay, thank you. So next agenda item.
Next agenda item is agenda item 6, action items. There are no items at this moment. Next agenda item is agenda item 7, reports and information. We have agenda item 7A, land acknowledgement for Sustainability Commission.
Chairperson Werner. Land acknowledgement is something that is being addressed by, for example, LA's Sustainability Office, and Elizabeth brought to this attention. Land acknowledgement is an acknowledgement of the traditional indigenous inhabitants of the land. So Elizabeth has prepared a report, a PowerPoint presentation rather, for your consideration on whether you'd like to see the Sustainability Commission have a land acknowledgement statement at the beginning of meetings. So Elizabeth's going to give an overview of what land acknowledgement is, the history of it, and why it's here, and what other institutions are participating in doing this. So I'll hand over to Elizabeth now.
So hello, commissioners. Land acknowledgements are a socially sustainable practice for the Sustainability Commission. As terms of what is a land acknowledgement, as David mentioned, a land acknowledgement is an acknowledgement of the traditional indigenous inhabitants of the land. So for the Glendale and much of the Los Angeles area, it would be the Gabrielino Tongva tribe, along with any other indigenous communities around various edges of the LA Glendale area. In taking a land acknowledgement, it is an effort to recognize the indigenous past, present, and future of a particular location and understand our place within that relationship. And it's a way to show respect and take a step towards correcting the stories and practices that erase indigenous people's history and culture by acknowledging the indigenous people that were here, are here, and will continue to be here. Why do land acknowledgements matter? They're very helpful in understanding the history that brought us to reside on this land. So like Glendale, understanding the history of this land, but beyond just what we learned when the Spanish come, but also understanding that there were people before that. It's a step in rematriation. So that is the reunion of the land with its original caretakers and stewards. So by encouraging and bringing in indigenous communities into the political processes and allowing them to also reconnect and have a say in what happens to their indigenous land. And it also builds mindfulness of colonial history and practices. So who does land acknowledgements? Land acknowledgements are very common in Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. As David mentioned before, that Chief Sustainability Officer for LA County carries out a land acknowledgement, acknowledging all the indigenous communities within LA County before every presentation and speaking opportunity. But you also see it in institutions such as like schools, universities, businesses like Microsoft announced the land acknowledgement. Sports teams have also done land acknowledgements, and more recently it's been happening at pop culture events such as the Oscars have done land acknowledgements. And in Glendale has done aspects in the past to acknowledge the indigenous communities and the Tongva tribe in Glendale. So for instance, you'll see an image on top of Tongva Peak. There's a dedication to the indigenous communities. And if you are in the Montrose area on Verdugo Boulevard in front of the supermarket Vaughn's, there is a plaque identifying how that area was a creek and was part of the Tongva tribe's land and community before it became the Indian Springs Pool. And if you look on UCLA's Village of Tongva Villages, there's a Tongva village in the Glendale area. So what's involved in a land acknowledgement? Land acknowledgements have two parts, but I think we want to start with the first part with the Sustainability Commission, and that's just a statement acknowledging the past, present, and future of the indigenous people of the land. Statements in the past just mainly acknowledge the indigenous populations that are in the area in which an event is taking place, and it's acknowledging that these people were here, are here, and will continue to be here and thriving here. And then to a next step, which can happen at a later point, is an action plan, which is essentially taking that land acknowledgement statement and putting action to it by denoting concrete steps in how the communities and individuals are supporting Indigenous communities and including them in our political and development processes. So what suggested next for the Sustainability Commission could be staff would be drafting a ceremonial statement which this commission can review and vote upon and which to include into future Sustainability Commission meeting openings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I'll just say ever since I was a little girl, I've always had a very soft spot for Indigenous people. So I'm really excited that there will be some way to work this into our future.
Thank you. Me too.
I'll just say I had firsthand experience with the land acknowledgement ceremony. I'll admit for the first time a couple weeks ago at the Riverwalk event that took place in Glendale, and I thought it was a beautiful short ceremony acknowledging where we are and the land that we're on. I think that would be great to embed that into our city events, functions. I think as it relates to the commission, it'd be great to do something similar, maybe on an annual basis, perhaps at the time that we're shifting chairmanship, to do that kind of thing during a commission meeting. I also think as far as an action plan goes, perhaps this can be embedded as part of the climate action plan, to have folks from the Tongva community or Indigenous peoples be involved in the advisory committee if we are to have one. Make sure that they have a seat at the table and are helping us shape and inform the climate action plan as it's being developed. So just some relatively easy ways to incorporate those communities in our processes.
Thank you. As the descendant of members of the Cherokee Nation that were forcibly removed from their ancestral homeland in Tennessee in the 1830s and marched to Oklahoma, I support this.
Great, thank you. Next agenda item is agenda item 8, Sustainability Office Updates. Agenda item 8A is Earth Day pop-up fair feedback.
So, Commissioners, first of all, thank you very much for coming to Earth Day. We know that Elizabeth did a fantastic job of organizing that event. When the event started at 10 o'clock, we were a little bit worried about the participation, but throughout the day, more and more people kept on coming. So it was what we think is a great success and a huge success. So I want to thank the commissioners for suggesting this and asking us to put on the Earth Day. So I think we're going to build up and continue to grow that event. We thought the location was great. People seem to be very interested, especially in the vendors and everything. So Elizabeth, as you know, worked tirelessly, and we have a little video of the event, which you're all starring in, so we're looking forward to seeing that. And I'll let Elizabeth give any further feedback that she wants. And we also want, if you could give us feedback about what you thought about the event and areas that we can improve and things that we may want to look at next year too, we would appreciate that.
Yes, it was a great event. We had comments from the public that they really enjoyed it. They wish there were more events like this in the future. They thought it was a great and fun way to learn about sustainability. And I think a lot of people were, public members coming through, were very excited to have in-person events again. The vendors enjoyed it. They thought it was a very good event. They had a lot of fun. And yes, so I think overall very high satisfaction from attendees from the public and attendees from vendors, which were local businesses, city departments, and organizations. And we'll play a video right now, which is a little summary and promo video for next year, but also highlighting the event that happened just past.
Sustainability to me means contributing more than we consume.
How we can create a community that sustains each other and allows for everyone to flourish.
Trying to protect the earth and take steps big and little that all of us can to help toward that goal.
For me, I want what's best for my children and for their children. Green grass, blue skies, and clean oceans. And we can't do that until we all pitch in and do something together.
Collective community effort to be more sustainable in the city of Glendale.
Putting in place programs and practices that we can employ in the city to make it a greener city, a more livable city.
Sustainability means to me kind of like ecology. It's the story of everything coming together and how we can keep things going. We're all connected, and it means that we need to work together in order to sustain our resources for the future.
We're trying to get people more focused on the environment, and we think that these different booths and different ways to be creative about ways to reduce our carbon footprint will help educate the community on how we can all make a difference.
Earth Day is a great way to bring out our community with the community. So we have local businesses, our city departments, local organizations out here so we can interact with the public and hopefully educate the public and create a two-way discourse between various community groups in Glendale.
The importance of events like this today at Earth Day is to raise awareness about sustainability issues in the city.
Sustainability is a lot about getting the community involved, educating the community, let them know we're here, and we want to hear their voices and what they think we should do, and getting them to be part of our sustainability program. We hope you enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you. That was very nice. And I thought the event was fun, and we lucked out on the weather, and it was just the right amount of people there where you didn't feel like with social distancing and all that, you didn't feel like you're crowded in any way, but you can still feel like there was energy there and participation. And I was trying to think of what I would change. Maybe having some kind of map available online so people would know, like if there's a particular table they want to start off at, they kind of know. That might inform where they park or something like that. And maybe a parking map as well. Some people were asking me, like, where do you park? So I know they should all walk. I know what you're thinking. And I know some people had to move unexpectedly because of the food trucks. They have the exhaust, so maybe that could be planned out, advance, so no one's having to move their location, at the last minute. And maybe something with the city where they're partnering with us a little bit more as far as like being able to use tables and things like that. I seem to recall that there were some tables and chairs that were chained up, and that didn't seem very welcoming to the public. So if there's something we can do about that, I think that would be beneficial. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I think it was an amazing event, but I think next year you should invite like more high schoolers and maybe like college students, so you can maybe give them a booth and then they can invite their friends and just bring a lot more young people to the event, not just like toddlers or like more young adults, and I think that'd be a great idea. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Anyone else?
I unfortunately was not able to attend the event, but from the video, I could tell everybody was having fun, and the message got out there that this is something that we all care about, and it was great to see that many people that were in attendance. So,
I know, and I know you were on the planning committee, so thank you.
I also think the event went really well. Thank you very much for organizing that. I'll say I love Artsock Plaza. It's a great public space, and I'm glad we have it. I think the logistics of having that median there and it being a trip hazard and the way in which the tents were kind of organized didn't allow for a more cohesive kind of space where people were traversing. I think you had the idea right with doing it at the library, and I know for many reasons we couldn't do that this year, but hopefully next year when a new park is established. I'm not sure of the timeline of that park, but hopefully it's done by next year. We can have an event there. We can eliminate the generator use altogether by inviting food trucks that can plug into an existing electrical system. And I was actually thinking, I've seen solar-powered DJs at events before. I'm inspired by what Ciclavia does with their outdoor events. I was thinking music would be a cool way to attract more people. And to the previous comments about welcoming more youth, we should be able to incorporate some kind of competition or some kind of something to draw people in and make a big display out of it, whether it's, right off the top of my head, I'm thinking about recycling cans, but like something that people can bring as a way to demonstrate they're contributing somehow to either eliminating waste from their lives or bringing in something to recycle, and have that be a display as part of the event to further draw people in. And I do think we should be promoting alternative uses of transportation as much as possible. So I like the fact that whether it's ArtSoc or the library, the fact that it's downtown does allow for as many people as possible to walk if they live close by, but they also have access to transit services. So I know the B line goes through Harvard. I know that there are buses that service Brand and Central and Broadway. There are many ways to get to the event. So that's what I liked about it being in a central location that's most accessible to people. So yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Conchina, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I truly believe it was very well planned and well executed. It was a fun event. I'm glad the city departments also participated. I think it's always, you're a little bit starstruck, maybe sometimes seeing those people. But yeah, I think it would be great to have younger people involved, or a better showing of younger people next year.
Great. And I liked Commissioner Bartosov's comment about the, encouraging people to bring their recyclables or something. I was also thinking maybe we could encourage people to bring their used batteries. It's a little difficult. A lot of us used to bring our batteries to work and dump them in the workplace collection site. And now that we're working from home, those batteries are piling up, and it's a little inconvenient right now. And I'm worried that a lot of them are just ending up in the regular trash. So, something like that I think would bring a few extra people that might not have come by otherwise.
Do you mean like combining it with a like a tech recycling kind of fair?
Yeah, there's like their e-waste, but I thought maybe if we just limit it to batteries, because e-waste can be kind of large items and so on too. But just a couple of battery bins, might be enough to at least help people reduce their in-home stockpile of used batteries.
Just to add to that, because you're jogging my mind about other ideas, we can do some kind of exchange. I know Glendale Water and Power does provide LED bulbs, for example, to our residents. Maybe if we had people bring in their old incandescent bulb or a CFL, we can match it with 2 or 3 LED bulbs, just to have some kind of productive exchange. If you bring something inefficient, we'll give you something efficient, kind of thing. I think that would be helpful. Many people are not aware CFLs are hazardous waste. They should not be thrown into the trash. They do have mercury in them, and I discourage the use of them. But if you have CFLs in your home, perhaps as part of this next event, people can bring them in. We can properly dispose of them and provide them with more energy efficient light fixtures or bulbs.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. Are there any other comments before we move on to the next agenda item?
More so an idea. Maybe next year we could incorporate the arts a little bit more, and with the Arts and Culture Commission, maybe partnering with them. That was mentioned about recycling and encouraging folks to bring recycled items, maybe you could create like an art show with that. I know that's something that's been done in the past, in and around LA. These are just ideas. You don't have to take them seriously. So, incorporating the arts and a little bit more, I think it'll draw more people in as well. And, just making it more part of our culture as well. Just a few suggestions.
Thank you. Okay, next agenda item, please.
Next agenda item is agenda item 8B, update Transformative Climate Communities Grant.
So this is another project Elizabeth is working on. It's a grant focused on bringing monies to what we call like low-income disadvantaged areas. So Elizabeth and her team, Brian Salazar from GWP, have been working probably for the last 6 weeks, trying to look at internal projects, get external partners regarding this. And again, they're doing phenomenal work. Now I'll let Elizabeth take it away.
Yes, so this is an update on an application that we're making for the Transformative Climate Communities Grant. The Transformative Climate Communities Grant, or known as TCC for short, is a grant sponsored by the California Strategic Growth Council, so it is state funding, and it aims to empower communities most impacted by pollution to choose their own goals, strategies, and projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and local air pollution. And the TCC grant really looks at projects that are neighborhood specific and community led. And it looks at a variety of projects from infrastructure and development to programming. TCC grants are joint applications that do cover a variety of projects, and what part of the aspect to make it community led is that they want each application to come from an application team, and application teams need to be a group of organizations such as public agencies, nonprofits, local businesses, and community groups coming together to submit an application. And like I said, it has a variety of projects that vary from public infrastructure, health, well-being, and housing. So each application encompasses multiple projects, kind of like a portfolio about how they're going to transform a community, and these are the projects that they're going to implement. Funding in the past has ranged from 9 to 30 million. You can see in the image here the past 3 funding rounds. Right now we're in funding round 4. And cities such as City of Ontario, Riverside, Fresno, Oakland have received funding. This year, they have allocated $35 million into funding for 3 implementation grants, and that $35 million will be distributed over 5 years. And also, this is a matching funding grant, so the TCC grant of $35 million will match $35 million that the application team is able to find from other funding sources. So projects for this grant that we're applying for is the implementation grant, and projects need to be ready for implementation. So essentially the design is done and they're ready to go to be implemented by October 2023. And I mentioned earlier, they need to be location or community neighborhood specific. So they need to fit within a 5 square mile area of Glendale. You can see our current project area in the image. And it's essentially the project area can be in the areas encompassed by Glendale by the 5, the 134, and the 2 freeways, because these areas meet low income thresholds as well as pollution thresholds that the grant deems as low, and that these are communities that will be most affected by climate change. And as well, the projects in the application need to meet at least 3 of the following strategies. So the strategy 1 is equitable housing and neighborhood development. So these are projects that go towards development of equitable housing. So one project we have is on the grant application would be our 900 and 920 East Broadway development. That's actual building a brand new affordable housing unit. That kind of that works as well as like infrastructure improvements to current affordable housing. So one group that we are partnering with is the YMCA, and they are looking to renovate their housing as well. Strategy 2 is land acquisition for affordable housing. So these are projects where they will fund a portion of a land acquisition. So one project we're looking at would be there's a plot of land the city is looking to acquire for affordable housing developments, and part of the grant could fund that. Transit access and mobility strategy is strategy 3. So we are working with Glendale Transit and hopefully another partner on transit access. So this could be projects such as updating bus shelters to be, easy to be shaded, or creating bus shelters. It also includes like buying buses, electric buses, and any infrastructure to support buses, as well as extension of lines and such. But the projects we're kind of looking at are bus shelters, as well as infrastructure and purchase of electric buses. Strategy 4 is solar installation, energy efficiency, and appliance electrification. This is for projects that are solar, energy efficient, and appliance electrification in housing projects. So it only applies, the grant will only fund projects that are for housing areas or community facilities. So for instance, like the YMCA, it's a community facility, updates there could be used, as well as like solar installation at fire departments or police departments can include, but mainly it focuses on housing as well, be it single or multifamily. Strategy 5 are water efficiency projects such as appliance updates, metering, as well as potentially drought tolerant landscaping. So the Central Library, for instance, is looking into implement a drought tolerant garden. Strategy 6 is recycling and waste management, and this encompasses projects from organics to recycling, as well as food waste reduction. Strategy 7 is urban greening and green infrastructure. So this is looking at projects that create more green space, such as buying up land for parks, planting, vegetation, composting, community gardens, green walls. Strategy 8 is health and well-being. This one focuses mostly on food access as well as recreational access. So it will fund projects that provide food access, such as development of pantries and food storage, community gardens, gardening, which allows for food production, and well-being in terms of providing more recreational activities and access to recreation, such as sponsoring equipment. And then strategy 9 is indoor air quality, which tends to focus more on projects that improve filtration. Strategy 10 is community microgrids, so developing a community microgrid on a community facility. And strategy 11 is brownfield redevelopment. So that this is just a taster of some of the projects that we have that we're putting together for the application, and these are the strategies, which are essentially kind of like types of projects the TCC grant will fund. So where are we now on the grant? So like I mentioned, the TCC grant wants this to be community-led, and they want various organizations to come together. So the City of Glendale is coming together with the YMCA in Glendale and the Salvation Army in Glendale to be a co-applicant team. So this team essentially is the one who will be implementing the projects in the grant if we're awarded the funding. But we also are working with community-based partner organizations to guide implementation. So these are groups that will help provide like a sounding board advisory group during the implementation period, and also support any community outreach. So the YWCA has agreed, the Adams Hill Neighborhood Association and the Campbell Center have agreed to be part of this community-based partner organization. The grant we're in the middle process of putting together application, as the grant is due July 1st. So yes, and that's where we are so far with the TCC grant. Any questions or comments?
And just to add to what Elizabeth said, we have to go to City Council, which we're going on the May 24th meeting, because we have to get a resolution stating that we can accept the funds if we do receive a grant, and that the city has the ability to distribute the funds with the partners.
Yeah, so would the city need to solidify its proposals before the council meeting on the 24th, or is it kind of a parallel process?
We just need the authorization from City Council in order to submit the application. That's one of the criteria. You can't submit the application without having that.
Got it. So this seems like a very unique opportunity for us to invest money on sustainability topics within our low-income disadvantaged communities. Is this an opportunity where the Sustainability Commission would get to weigh in on what the city ultimately decides to seek funding for? This seems like, I would think this is something that we should chime in on, considering it's a sizable amount of money in a low-income community that needs it the most.
So, good question. Thank you.
Sorry.
So this is our first time going through this. This is actually a real learning opportunity for us. We know that there will be around 5 funding too next year. What we're currently working on this year is trying to gather the projects and the co-application team as quickly as possible so we can submit the July 1 proposal. But I think going forward in future years, we'll be able to start this planning process a lot earlier. So there will be absolutely opportunity for the Sustainability Commission to be part of that planning process, letting us know projects that we may want to look at and reach out to see if they meet the criteria for the grant so we can add them into future applications. But we're under that time crunch this year because it came to us a bit late, or we found out about it a bit late.
Then in that case, I'd say at the very least, hopefully we could be notified as these projects are being fine-tuned or developed. Perhaps we'll know before they go to council for final input. I will say in the strongest terms that I think whatever we apply for, that we are really helping benefit the folks that live in this community, and predominantly low income, more likely to not own a vehicle, more likely to take transit and walk to get to their destinations. 2/3 of our city are renters, and that number is likely higher when you're looking at this focused area. So I would like to encourage as much as possible that staff is tailoring this grant proposal with those factors in mind. And that's something that I'll personally be looking for when this goes to council and providing my input based on those criteria. So thank you for taking that note seriously.
So my neighborhood association is the one that signed on as a partner group, so I'm vice president of that. So we met with them yesterday, or was it Tuesday, and discussed different possible strategies and priorities for that region. So the Adams Hill Neighborhood Association is actually the only neighborhood group in the south part of that region. So we felt it was important for helping, homeowners be heard and so on. So we talked about things like finding funds for being able to make people's lawns more water-wise, who can't afford to redo their lawns. And I know there's some rebates and things, now and then, but a lot of people lack the resources to even design a drought-tolerant lawn. And so a lot of the homeowners who are who have limited means are just letting their lawns, turn into weed-filled lots, which, is kind of a blight, in some ways. And then also for apartment buildings, maybe, creating green spaces there, maybe using some of that to help encourage more people to have their own composting and so on as well. That had been brought up too because of the current new law about composting. And also we looked at helping restore the urban canopy a lot. We have a lot of street trees that we've lost, so there's just holes in the sidewalk, but prioritizing the ones that are around transit stops, since it can be pretty brutal on a hot day when you're waiting for the bus out in the direct sunlight or standing in the rain waiting for the bus. And so I think things like that are, low-hanging fruit that could be implemented. I understand one of the parts of this program is that the money has to be able to be used in a certain amount of time, or the program has to have at least started within like a year of receiving a grant, something like that, and then completed within 5 years of that. We'd also like to see more park space. Glendale is over 800 acres short of park space based on its population, according to the recreation element and a blue ribbon committee that was formed over 20 years ago to look at that, and who the outcome of that was to urge the city to buy parkland, and they didn't. And so now today we have land that's just prohibitively expensive for the city to buy. But something like this would help us qualify, for the matching funds and everything, and maybe make that happen. So I'd like to see the city looking into where identifying areas that might be able to be turned into public parks. The children of South Glendale have very, very little access to outdoor play, and that kind of disparity can really cause them to fall behind their peers very quickly. So unstructured outdoor play is a very important part of child development, and that's very, very unfortunate that the children of South Glendale aren't getting that opportunity in a lot of cases. There's been a lot of development, and there's variances on even providing open space within the housing, the multifamily housing units and so on. So I just feel bad for kids that didn't get to grow up going to parks like I did. So hopefully we can address something like that. So did you have any comments? Anyone else?
I had a question about matching of the grants. Would that be the city that has to match, or would it be the individual organizations that are partnering?
The city would probably match their city projects, so projects that the city would be responsible for implementing, but the YMCA and Salvation Army would need to have funding to match their projects. And matching funding can be from a variety of sources. It could be from their donor base, it could be already their budget allocations, it could even be from other grants or loans.
Yeah, that was a good question. Thank you. Yeah, we had asked about that as well, because the Adams Hill Neighborhood Association doesn't have huge dollars to spend on something like that. So that's one of the reasons we decided to be a partnering group rather than a co-applicant. Any other questions on this?
I'd just like to respond to Commissioner Bartros's comments. I think one of the things in this grant, it is very much focused to make sure that it does reach a population that you were talking about. And also we have a weekly call with the technical team that helps applicants with the grant process. And one of the things they're talking about today is making sure they reach out to the community and hear what the community wants. And that really helps with the scoring criteria of those projects that are successful. So that communication with these communities is highly part of this application process. I just thought you might want to know that.
Great. Okay, next agenda item, please.
Next agenda item is adjournment.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Enjoy the short one.